Alrighty. So good morning, everybody, and welcome this morning. Right. So our guest is having a bit of a network challenge and will be logged in soon. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, and thank you for being here. David, can you hear me now?
Yes, Kochi, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Correct. I can hear you. Thank you for
Good
joining
morning.
me.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good,
Thank you very much.
good morning. So
Good
good
morning,
morning. You
Coach.
have in the building the amazing David Folaranmi. You want to listen to David. In fact, this morning we woke up and we were having a conversation with a guest we had in the house. And the person was asking me, I need a drug prevention coach. Who do I? So I said, I don't understand. You know me, you don't know David. There's something wrong. And the person was looking at me. I was like, you never listened to David before? The person said, no. I said, are you joking? Like, are you just this morning? It hasn't even been long. It's barely 10 minutes we had that conversation with that guest in the house. Thank you again, David Falami,
Thank
for
you.
joining.
Thank you,
David
Coach,
is,
for having me.
so if you're listening to me, if you've never listened to David, don't get paranoid when David shares some things. David is one of those coaches that when he's sharing, my son and I are actually on our chair with a pen and a paper, and at the time we dropped the paper and the pen on one side, and they were like this. Hey, I say, like, so David is a father in the inner circle. The other part of him is that he's a drug prevention coach, but David is a father. Today we're going to be talking about his fatherhood journey. That's
Yeah.
what we're talking about. But I do not think that his fatherhood journey will be void of his journey into the world of drugs and what he does, all right, with all of the things that he does around the world on drug prevention. So, David, this morning, this is me saying I celebrate you.
Thank
David
you.
is, of course, if you know me, you know that David is one of those first class sons of the prophet, right? All right. You know. Thank you so much for the honor of being
Thank you,
here
Coach. Thank you,
again.
Coach.
Okay, so I'm privileged to know David too well. Privileged to know him even before he got married. So I know his journey of fatherhood before he became a father.
Hmm.
If there's
Yeah.
anything like that. So I don't know how David's going to share how he met, how he joined the inner circle. I'm sure he has a story, but let's
Yeah.
go there. So,
Yeah.
how did you join the inner circle, David?
Okay. Thank you very much, Kochi. And by the way, the term Kochi is left for only me, so nobody's permitted to call you Kochi apart from me. So I would like to start my experience of my journey by saying that even before I had children, I had it in my mind that I wanted to parent right, right. So when I met my wife, we had the conversation on how do we raise our children. And at that time, because I got married in 2018, so when we're cutting and we're having this conversation, what occurred to us is to do what the same mistake a lot of parents make, to do the
Mm,
same thing that our parents did. So,
mm,
because our own parents parented us through spiritual leaders, pastors,
mm, mm,
imams, bishops, reverends, we said,
mm,
okay, we are going to go and meet our pastors. That's my wife and I talking at the time. We are going to go and meet our pastors to put us through how our parenting should be, because that's what we knew. That's the
mm,
mistake a lot of us make. We want to parent the way we were parented. So because my parents parented me through using pastors, this is what the pastor said you should do, and my wife the same thing, we felt it was the right thing to do. So we went to meet her parish pastor, and then we said, okay, we're going to get married. We want you to put us through how we should parent our children. And then, well, he's a man of God. We do love him. He said so many things. He gave us so many outlines that we felt, okay, when we do this, it's going to turn out right. When we're driving home that day, I told my wife something. I said, most of what this Oga pastor has said are the same things that my mom was doing. And she got it all
mm,
wrong. She got it all wrong with my brothers. So there might be, we might need to tweak this thing a bit. Oh, she said, no, it's our pastor. The pastor cannot get it wrong. I said, okay. And we got married, and then we're trying to leave that template, even though the children had not come. And then I went to Pretoria in South Africa. There was a parenting conference. And Kochi, we paid about $400 for that program. It was less than a week. And I came back. I went alone. I didn't go with my wife. I came back and I tried to talk to my wife. This is what we learned. This is how we're supposed to parent. But it still did not just look. It still did not just look right. It still looked like there was something missing. And then I've known Coach Wendy, just like she said, even before I got married, I've known her. And that's where the cost of familiarity comes in. No be coach, no coach now. They do have home sale for our house. We they go do district meeting, law feast in our house in Okogoma. No be coach. What coach will tell me, So I've known her. So the cost of familiarity setting, and I didn't even bother to think that she was talking about parenting. She didn't even cross my mind. And then in 2020, in December, I think we had coach had a live meeting in Abuja in December, and I went for that meeting, and I sat down at the back. I was seated at the back, and the coach was speaking, and then it was as if she was using a scissors from where she was sitting, and she just cut my cloth open from head to toe and left me naked. Then to make matters worse, she now told me to come to the front. So it's as if she knew that she was talking to me, and she made me come to the front of that program. And then it was at that time I said, look, I have to join the inner circle. I have to join the inner circle. There's something I need to learn. There's something in it for me that I need to get. At that time, my wife had just put to bed. The baby was just a couple of months old. So I got back home, and I told my wife, I said, look, I went for a program. Coach Wendy was speaking, and these are the things she said. So we now started the comparison. This is what pastor told us. This is what coach told us. So we now started seeing that there was a lot of a difference. And then I started following her on her Tuesday live. I was following it. Even if I was at work, I'll make sure that I watch it. Even if I was at work, I'll make sure that I watch it. And in June of 2021, we had what we call the drug symposium, annual drug symposium in Abuja. And coach came and coach spoke. And Coach Ebuka too came. And then Coach Ebuka spoke. And then my wife was like, she loves this Coach Ebuka. I said, Coach Ebuka is a covenant son of the prophet. If you want me to speak like Coach Ebuka, then we better go and join the inner circle. So I think that was it for me. And then I just said at that year, I was going to join the cohort of that cohort, which I did immediately. And then needless to say, it's been great. It's been an amazing journey. I've learned so much. And my wife and I have already registered for the next cohort coming. Even though we are planning, I've not told Coach this, we're planning to repeat the level 1 because she's joining me. So I'm thinking we should just do it together and just progress together that way. So that's our plan. And that's how it's been. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. I have a few testimonies personally from even raising my children who are just 3 and 1 from what I've learned. And you won't believe some of them, but I'm sure in the course of this program, I'll get the opportunity to talk about them. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. You have David Folaranmi sharing his intentional parenting journey. When David was sharing, I didn't know this part of him sitting and me talking. Honestly, this is the first time I'm hearing. As close as I am to David, of course, you know that there are just some things you get to hear on the course of the job. On the Impact Highway, and Tetima, are you there? You only get to hear some things on the Impact Highway. So this is me hearing it on the Impact Highway, and I celebrate you, David. When I remember that very day while we were in that space, and speaking with David after the event, and he said, you know what, I'm going to just join. My wife can come in later, and that was exactly what he did. See, when fathers take the lead, it changes everything. And then when David was sharing with you about being raised, the pastor's template, he wasn't trying to say the pastors were not right. David and I share the same spiritual
Mm.
fathers,
Yeah.
incidentally. And of course, we understand that these are men that we respect too much. But there is something David will always say. He will say, the pastor's job is the pastor's job.
Yeah.
Then every other person has their job. So the pastor is not going to do the job of a parent coach, and that is the truth. All right. And so, of course, that's one of the things that, of course, David also has a personal story himself that he shares unapologetically to whoever cares to hear. All right. And also get delivered by that story. I'm sure during the course of this conversation, David is going to mention and share with us, in bits, part of the stories that is meant for this conversation. If you want to listen to David, of course, stay in the inner circle. David is always speaking part of that story and sharing it with us. So, David, when you got into the inner circle and you started the process, what has the inner circle been to you? That's one. Two, how has the inner circle transformed you as an individual, your marriage, and also your parenting? Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. The first of all, the inner circle is an awakening. It sort of threw everything I knew out of the window and then brought fresh a breath of fresh air into my life,
Hmm.
into things, into even my work, even into my work. Um, when we started, we talked about we put up our vision in the house. We printed it really big and put it up, and then you could see that my wife was beginning to look because everything I did, they say only fools doubt proofs, right? So I was never interested in forcing her. I just knew that what coach was doing was right, and she was going to come along. So whenever we have an assignment, because for those coming in, please, you cannot afford to be lazy. The inner circle is not for lazy people. We have assignments to do. We have book reviews. We have tools, we have journaling, we have things to do. So whenever we have these assignments, I diligently do it, and then I execute it, and then I watch my wife, take notice of it, and I can see that she's approving of it and she's happy with it. So it actually changed the way I do things. Erroneously, a lot of parents think that parenting is about the child. That's what the typical parent thinks. However, it's actually about us. It's actually about we, the parents. It's actually about the way we do things, the way we respond to things, the way we act, the way we lead by examples and things like that. So the experience of the inner circle has actually changed my mindset entirely. I was telling somebody something. I said, there's a process to doing things and to getting things right. There's a
Hmm.
curriculum for parenting, right? And I
Hmm.
think that curriculum is found in the inner circle. The
Hmm.
inner circle is the Harvard University of Parenting. That's what it is. It's the Harvard University of Parenting. And let me tell you something about Harvard University, right? You just don't get you just don't get an excellent degree. Of course, when you come into the inner circle, you come out, you graduate, you get an excellent degree. Something else you get in Harvard is proper networking. That's why you can't find a Harvard graduate suffering. He would always find somebody that can help him in his time of need. That is something I have gotten in the inner circle. I don't always have to call coach. I respect her too much to disturb her too much and say, coach this, coach that. No, but she has poured herself into thousands of people that I can reach out to at any time and say, look, I have this challenge. Tosin is an example. I can't be calling coach for minor things when I have Tosin, who is in the inner circle, who has been there before me. And I'll tell her, this is the challenge I'm having with my toddlers, and she'll put me through. Coach Ebuka is another example. If I, by the grace of God, I have access to coach, but I know how busy she is and how many children she has that she's taking care of. So the inner circle has afforded me that proper network of people who are aware and people who are knowledgeable on what to
That's
do in life. So I can always reach out to any of those people, and it just feels like whatever challenges I'm having is solved in the blink of an eye. That's something else that the inner circle has done for me.
hmm. Amazing, amazing. I love the way David, broke it down. He said something about the Harvard of parenting, so, and he broke down what being in Harvard means. So Harvard is not about the degree. When you go to Harvard, you're connected for life. You
Yeah.
are there are places you will enter that no other person can enter just by virtue of being a Harvard graduate. That's what the inner circle does. This analogy is just amazing. There are people you will assess that you would not be able. I say that one of our biggest tools is collective intelligence. I see a lot of people, reach out and all of that. No, I'm not. I'm not the only one. There are yadas who are preachers or parenting in their own rights, and I can tell you for free, they do it seamlessly. They have the mantle. It was Mrs. Notch that says that mantles are transferred by men, not by God. The mantle in the inner circle is given to anybody who is ready and who
Mm.
is connected enough to collect it. Is there. And so that the connection is out of the word. You don't get it, you just speak it on the road. And any relationship you build in the inner circle is a solid relationship. People
Yeah.
have looked at the relationship they have and have restructured what they have. It's interesting. So David is one of those people that can sleep in my house. Yet, of course, he's not going to ask me some very mundane questions. That's the truth. Because you understand that, see, there are plenty of people that I can just put a call to and
Mm.
ask them,
Yeah. Mm.
something. When I see people who are not in the inner circle, because there's always abuse of some access. That's a conversation for another day. But inner circle parents understand how things run. Shout out again to inner circle parents. David, thank you for sharing that. So tell us,
Mm.
how has the inner circle transformed your marriage, your parenting? In what ways? Over to you.
Okay. Yes. It has. Let's start from my parenting, right? So I had my mom who coach those very well. She believed in being what we call strict, and being the disciplinarian. So she used to shout on us. She used to shout at us as children. When we're late, she would leave us and go to work and won't go to school that day. Those kind of things. So I was going to parent my young ones that way. And then now I came into the inner circle. And of course I bought the books, and we had Zoe. We had Zoe. Zoe is our first in 2020 of October, and she started growing up very quickly, and she was very opinionated. She would always, as little as she was, you could say that she would always want to do that thing that she wants to do, even if you don't want her to do it. So it was very easy for me to snap at her. It was very easy for me to yell. And my wife, being who she is, was following my lead. She was following my lead. We're snapping at our toddler at that very young age. And every time that happens, I hear coach's voice saying, "You shouldn't yell, you shouldn't yell, you shouldn't yell." So I'll give you an example. One of the books I read was Connect to Correct. That's a bestseller. Everybody should read it. That every family should have that book. And then I understood that in the first 3 years of a child's life, it's very crucial. So when I joined, because I just don't join, I talk to people about it. And people now tell me that, well, your kids are still very little. You shouldn't, why are you joining the inner circle? Well, you should wait till they are teenagers. And I go, no, that's where you get it wrong. Because if you wait till they are teenagers, you're now probably doing damage control, right? You're now probably doing damage control and costing our dear coach sleepless nights. So join now when you can lay a solid foundation. Because,
Yeah.
like she said, like it was written in Connect to Correct, the first 3 years are the most crucial parts of a child's life, where they build their values, where they build their beliefs, all of those kind of things. So this was the appropriate time for me to join. I saw like that was the perfect time for me to join. And I now noticed that Zoe, who is my first daughter, was already forming her own character. So
Mm.
I was yelling when I thought she was doing things that she was not supposed to do. And apparently, this was my fault and not her fault, because I was not connecting, couldn't correct her in the appropriate manner and the right way that I should do. But then, with all of the things I started learning, the tools and everything that I was putting in practice and putting in place, I was now able to communicate with Zoe without yelling. It now became so easy for me to communicate with her without yelling. And then, just like I said, in the last time I was speaking, we had a book review a few months ago, either July or August, that I was a part of. It wasn't my group that was doing the review, but I was following it very well. And I could see some of the things the people were saying because they were talking about father and daughter's relationships in that review. And some of the things that they were saying, I put into practice. And I could find out that it made uh, my connection to Zoe, who is just 3, a lot better. And then I was now able to communicate to her how she should behave without yelling, without spanking, without shouting. It became so much easier. And then how does it affect my family, my marriage? My wife simply followed suit. Said, okay, if my husband is doing this and it is working, I'll keep saying only fools doubt proofs. If you do
Mm,
it and they will follow you. You don't need
that's
to
it.
coerce anybody. You don't need to, for especially the women here, if your husbands are not there, don't coerce them. Just do what you are asked to do and let them
Mm,
see that it's working. They will follow you. And
mm.
that's what my wife did. So she just followed suit and she just acted the way I was acting. She also was able to connect to my daughter. And then we were able to help her through all the things that she was supposed to do. Then, secondly, Zendaya now came. So when Zendaya came, sibling rivalry is very funny because I felt it's when they grow up, when they grow up, when they are young, there can't be any sibling rivalry. But Zendaya also grew up so fast. She's just 1. But by the time she was about 8 months, you could see that she was always fighting Zoe because somehow I was close to Zoe. Now, I also read the book Resolving Sibling Rivalry, and Coach said that 80% of the time it's we, our fault, parents. We cause these things. If you read more in that chapter, you see that it says sometimes there's favoritism for the first child or the last child or the gender, etc. I am particularly very close to Zoe, and I could tell that as young as Zendaya was, she didn't like because I was always carrying Zoe. She would come to sleep in my bed as Zendaya has to sleep in her own room and things like that. So Zendaya at a young age, she was less than 1, seriously, she would try to fight her sister. She would try to fight her sister. So I knew that I had to change. I knew that I had to change. So I gave myself a 3-month ultimatum to study that book very well and change the way I act, change the way I behave, change the way I treat them to make sure that there's a balance. As soon as I was able to strike that balance, you could see that that conflict between the younger one and the older one fizzled out. And my wife was just talking about this like a week ago. She said just 3 or 4 months ago, they were always at each other's throats. As young as they were, 3 and 8 months, they were always at each other's throats because I spent more time with the firstborn and the second one didn't just like it. As soon as I was able to balance it, you could see that all of that just fizzled out. So it's been a great experience, just seeing that you're reading something and you are putting it into practice and you are seeing results is the best feeling ever. It's the best feeling ever.
Wahoo! Thank you again, David Folaranmi. If you are listening to me, you're listening to David Folaranmi and David Folaranmi programs for drug prevention. We're going to talk about it because I like to talk about it a lot. I've seen David do drugs myself. So, and then when David is talking, I'm always in awe. You guys don't understand it. Nobody gets it. Nobody gets me. My husband and I sometimes look like, huh? And we're like, sometimes we're praying, sometimes we're shouting, sometimes we're singing. The excitement is out of the world. By the way, somebody said in the comment section that David was talking like God, and I think I agree. In fact, when he said something, he said communicate. I said, oh, David, well, did you just say that? And that was one of the things struck my head. That's what happens when you keep listening and listening. David, thank you again for sharing
Sure.
your journey. So thank you. Then David, share with us. In fact, there was something David shared about his journey with his wife. I love that part. Just do. All these you must follow me. You have not finished doing. You are now saying you must follow. Do. Let it be so clear. Yesterday I was in a review session with the level 2 yarders, and one of them said, you know what, man, my husband paid for everybody in the family to enter in that circle. I said, what happened? She said, "My, you cannot doubt the." He said, "I didn't even need to push." She said, "My sister-in-laws, my brother-in-laws, my sisters, every single person is coming into the inner circle." He said, "We are building a transformational family." Coach, you don't know what's coming. Our family has taken over inner circle. I said, "Chineke, me, what happened?" And I want to say, shout out to all the others. We were doing a review of the percentage of how people got to know about inner circle. You know, from the form that we have of the new incoming inner circle parents. And we had 80%. of people who got into the inner circle heard from family and friends, it means that what you're doing cannot be denied. It means that it's tangible enough to be seen. It
Yeah.
means that people can see. So our advert is not advert, out there. No,
Mm.
it is about family and friends, and we recognize that, and that's because you have result. Shout out to you guys. So over to you, David. David, share with us what's the impact of what you do and your parenting. And you've been there, done that. You program, you have experience. So I like it when people program and they program in experience. That's how the TIP inner circle is. I program in experience, and
Mm.
for me that's the best kind of program. I'm able to share about my life. I'm able to share about the things that is happening to me, and I'm able to say this is why I do this because hey, I've been there. Don't follow me. Don't make that mistake, and
Mm.
and all of that. So share with us how does it affect what you do. I know that I don't want us to share sharing some of the things that I know that David has shared with me, but I know that your work is deep. Your the things that you do, the relationship with parenting. How has what you have learned about parenting also helped in programming for what it is that you do currently? Over to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we part of what we do is we work with a lot with the youth. So we do drug abuse prevention, we do drug abuse education, awareness, and more importantly, we now do drug abuse treatment. Now, I get a lot of calls from frantic parents, some crying about challenges that their children or their wards are going through in terms of drug abuse. So we take some of these people in, like Coach knows, and then almost immediately or automatically they become sort of my children because it's almost as if I've taken that pain or that challenge off their families. Once they dump them in our place, I take total responsibility for them. In fact, as a matter of fact, yesterday somebody was telling me that, David, you need to see a therapist. Because
Mm,
when all of these people come and start telling me about their challenges, it's very mind blowing. But now, because I have the safe space of the inner circle to go and refresh, to go and re-strategize, to go and learn, I can always refill my cup from there to be able to give out to these ones that I'm working with. If I wasn't in the inner circle, I'll probably have been empty by now. I'll probably have been empty. I'll probably be running on empty, on zero tank. You know,
mm.
Another privilege I have is the opportunity to speak to coach. And then even if it's once in a while, it's almost as if once I have that conversation with her for a few minutes, she may not even know it. Some of the things she will say just fills my tank back, and I can come back to function again in the space that I'm working in. You have I have clients or residents that have serious issues with their families, serious issues with their parents. And when I look at it, I just look at this is absolutely lack of knowledge. Absolutely lack of knowledge. I have a client now that is in total loggerheads with his mother. The father had died, and then there's a will, and then son and mother are fighting over the will. And because the will is not coming to the son has decided to go and start using drugs. Things like that. So once I just implement some of the things I've learned in the inner circle and put it into practice in my workplace, it makes it a lot easier for me. It makes it a lot easier for me, basically. I can just transfer what I've learned in the inner circle, put it into action in my workplace, and then I see results. So, yes, I combine the two of them together. I take from here and give to here, and then it helps me a lot that way.
Amazing, amazing. And if you've never heard about drug addiction, I think I'm going to give David a few minutes to talk about drug addiction and all of that because this is one area where we're not programming enough, we're not talking enough. I remember that 2 years ago, just the eve of TIP annual conference, which happens every year, by the way, and David and I, with some circle of friends, David decided to go and show me what life in the drug world looked like. I have not recovered. I don't think I will ever recover. It's been 2 years. And I walked into that bunk. It changed my life forever. I'm not even going to lie to you. The things I heard, I've never heard them before. They were, see, what you don't know, you don't know. you're not, you're not aware. When you're not aware, you are gone. It doesn't matter who you are, right? You're a coach, you are a this. It was a part of my journey that wasn't exposed to me. And it was a learning that I have, of course. David is my, de facto. In my home, we bring in David to come and teach on drug prevention. We're very big on it, all right? Because I understand that it's not my area. I can't teach it. It's not. It not be my. I don't even understand a lot of it. All right. So David, I want you to take a few minutes to, share a bit about, drug and the things that is happening. Every time that I hear David speak, something in me tells me. I started to learn now. I started to join, classes where I'll just be like this. He doesn't know it most of the times, but he will come to me and say, I said, David does not know that I'm trying to gather myself for my parenting journey on this is part. So David is my helper when it comes to is my parenting partner on that part of my journey. Oh. I'm just telling you now. So anything that has to do with drug prevention, drug usage, and all of that, I defer to David. My children attend his classes, and me, I attend. I listen. I'm taking notes. I'm learning because I have also progressed in error in this area.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
had myself give money to buy drug without knowing it. The first time I heard it,
yeah,
David said, "Ma, is you didn't know. You were not aware." In fact, he explained my error in front of me. This guy, what you don't have knowledge in, you don't. There's no fight. You can be whoever and not be aware of drug and the things and the telltale signs of what can happen. So in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to give David the floor. This is going to be a webinar master class, whatever it is that you want to call it, for you to actually take away something. Of course, we have David here now. What a privilege, man. So yes, let's kuku get
okay.
something out of
Thank,
it.
thank,
Yeah.
thank,
David.
thank you very much, Coach. Since I work with a lot of people, I'll just use stories to buttress the point I want to make on the very close relationship between unintentional parenting and children who use drugs. I'll start with the first one. Coach might have heard this story. I went to Lagos. I was speaking in a school, a secondary school. When I finished, three young girls came out to me. They said they wanted to speak to me. I said, okay, what is it about? When I saw them, I tried to guess their ages. I felt they were about 16 or 17. And then the first girl started talking to me, and she said, "Sir, I have a problem." I said, "What's it?" She said she's been using Hennessy for the past 2 years. Hennessy is a very strong alcoholic drink, and then it progressed to marijuana, and then it progressed. Now she uses cocaine, secondary school girls, and now she's using cocaine. She can't study anymore without using that cocaine. I think I shared this story with Auntie Etima too. And then she pulled up her skirt and she showed me that she had been cutting her ties with razor blades and had been harming herself. Now, when I went further to probe, I asked her, "Where did you get the Hennessy from?" She said, "From her father's wardrobe." Her father is a politician who is always in Abuja. Her mother is an international businesswoman who is always in the United Arab Emirates. So she's the firstborn, left to take care of two younger ones, and then she had access to alcohol in her parents in her father's room. Now we set up an intervention for her, and then during the process of medical examination, it was found out that her liver had already started showing signs of cirrhosis. So she had liver cirrhosis. And then about 2 weeks later, I was called to say one of her kidneys had developed a problem and she might need to be put on dialysis. That was a 13-year-old girl, 13-year-old, simply because her parents will not do their responsibilities as parents to take care of their children in the way that they should, keep away substances from them, and now a 13-year-old girl will have to suffer medical illnesses probably for the rest of her life if she survives it. That's one story. A second story is one I always share in the TIP conference whenever I'm privileged to speak. A young girl, I was speaking to teenagers in church, and there's a young girl I knew. I knew her from almost when she was born. Now she was about 16. Her head was down, and I asked her, "What's the problem?" She said, "Nothing." I suspected she was using drugs. We called a meeting with her parents and the Sunday school teachers. She confessed to using drugs and said that her father's brother, who was deported from US, had been giving her marijuana. After marijuana, he started giving her Refnol. After Refnol, he started sleeping with her. The essence of the Refnol was to erase her memory from the sexual act he was committing with her. Now, what upset me was all of this was happening under the nose of the father, and he was none the wiser. Why? Because he didn't understand the telltale signs of drug use. And this is the situation with many parents today. 90% of drug use starts under the noses of the parents. But because we
Mm,
are too busy to gain knowledge, we're too busy to come for conferences, we're too busy to be in the midst of people who are discussing these things, we do not even know. How many of us know that drugs are sold on the internet now? We had a sting operation a few weeks ago in collaboration with the NDLEA, where drugs that were sold in cakes, muffins, they send it to your children, they order it online, they send it to them. A delivery bike guy will bring it and deliver cakes. I had a situation where the mother was the one collecting the cakes from the delivery bike guy and taking to her daughter. I was in the house when it happened, and I said, "Hold it, bring those cakes here." And the doctor became so aggressive. I said, "No, we just need to check what's inside. If truly there's no drug inside, we'll give it back to you." After a lot of back and forth, we opened it. There was cocaine inside the cake. So drugs are sold on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all those things. Yet some of our parents are totally unaware of these things. Another thing parents need to understand is some of us are enablers. Some of us
mm,
are the primary causes of why our children use drugs, because we enable them and we pet nonsense. Somebody is on the path to destruction and you are making excuses for him or her. Another reason is some of us keep addictive substances in the house. We use these drugs we use alcohol in front of our children. What do you expect? You are modeling a wrong example. Naturally, your children are going to follow suit. I was telling people the other day, I said, "Do you know that even tablets, that's medicinal tablets, you should keep away. You shouldn't use tablets in front of your little children." No, because you're creating the impression in their minds that when they take whatever thing it is that you are taking, they can feel better, they can feel relief, they can be happier. And then one day when they can't have access to it, somebody is going to give them an alternative drug. So we must be careful not to be enablers of substance use. Some of us, God has blessed us with wealth, and then we don't even care how our children are spending this money. We just give it to them. The kind of money I hear that they give some students in some universities when they bring them to me for counseling, "Coach, I don't earn that type of money." It's not a joke. I don't earn. There's a young boy we are working on now. His pocket money is 350,000 a month in a private university. And the guy now eventually got into drugs. The final story I'll tell, because my 5 minutes is almost over. We're working on a case now. This guy is already 42. So this is what I call damage control. He killed his father and his mother. This is a real life story in Enugu State here. He killed both of his parents. Both of his parents. When we went into further investigation, because the guy is on drugs, we went into further investigation. We found out that the guy had been on drugs for a long time. The parents were covering it up because of shame. They said they don't want people to say that their child is using drugs, so they were covering it up. They married for him, locked him up, put him in a place, and kept him there with a wife, and said everything he needs, they'll be supplying it for him. Until one day, the guy came out and killed both parents. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. He's at the asylum now. We're trying to use the legal means to bring him out, try to tell the court that he did not know what he was doing. He was under the influence. But who was to blame here? The parents. And what did they pay? The ultimate price, their own lives. If you're not intentional in your
mm.
parenting, you just might pay the ultimate price. God forbid it will happen to any of us here in Jesus' name. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Did you hear 5 minutes? David has sent all of us to a land of thought. Who else got frozen? I did. For every time David speaks, I freeze, like I freeze. Trust me. And And then when David is on a stage, it's different from when he's my mentee sitting in front of me and I'm giving him instructions. You know what you need to do. Why are you not doing it? Now he's speaking. I'm like, who the hell is this? Honestly, if you're not intentional, you might be paying the ultimate price. 5 minutes and we are all on a hot seat. All of us have collected. Did you collect? I'm sure you got. I'm sure you collected in 5 minutes. Trust me, that's how intense David's sessions are. When he was talking about the first day, David said to me, taking drugs in front of the I jotted myself back to reality. I said, what is this now? Now, David, why you putting me on my edge? Some things you do. You think it's okay, it's normal. I know how to do it. I know how to parent. I've been there. I know how to do everything. If you do not have knowledge, if you do not have knowledge, you will destroy your life and the life of your child. And God forbid that you end up paying the ultimate price. God forbid it. But hey, it is what it is. It
Yes.
is what it is. In 5 minutes, David has all given us what to think about. You think you know. You think you know everything. You know all there is. You know da. I know how to parent. I know everything. Better find yourself where you will get knowledge. Every single one of us in 5 minutes have collected wotoshously. We came for TIP, my intentional parenting journey. I knew that we were going to collect something today. Thank you again. Thank
Thank
you
you.
again, David, for sharing that intensely. I'm sure that in these 5 minutes, everybody picked something that they are going to run with. And if you think you've heard anything, jump into the academy because there is even a lot, much more for you to learn and for you to pick. And that's how David speaks this way. And yet you'll be uncomfortable on your chair. I remember 2022, it was 2021, it was sex educate your child like a pro. 2022. David spoke for 2 hours. Nobody stood up from their chair. 2 bloody hours. As in, we were frozen on the chair, including myself. By the time we were saying it's 2 hours, all of us were like, where are you going? Please come and tell us what we need to do. 2 hours. And of course, you know that David is a celebrity when you see almost 200 people watching live on my intentional parenting journey this morning. Because of course we have David Folaranmi in the studio. Thank you again, David, for
Thank you,
joining us.
coach.
So David,
Thank you very much.
let's continue on your journey as a father
Yes.
and your journey in the inner circle. Share with us what will be the top 3 webinars for you that you've listened to in the inner circle in the past 1 year.
The emotional intelligence is something that everybody, coach, everybody needs to be a part of. Everybody needs to be a part of. The emotional intelligence, everybody needs to be a part of it. It's so rich. I mean, I know how coach takes her time to cook a meal before she dishes it out. She just doesn't come from she just doesn't come and just say whatever she wants to say. If not, all of us wouldn't be here. So the emotional intelligence is one webinar that everybody should be a part of. Then we can't talk about TIP webinars without mentioning the conference, the annual conference. I mean, with speakers from all over the world, different topics. That's something that sometimes I just, if I can't even make it in the daytime, when I get back, I put it on the big screen in the house, and my wife and I just listen to topic by topic by topic, and it's very enlightening. It's something that we all should be a part of. And then number three, I'll go for I'll go for uh, sex educate like a pro because we have more speakers. It's sex educate like a pro, and then we have Coach Ebuka, who is a son of the prophet, and he's just very amazing. And yeah, so I think those are the three webinars I do enjoy the most.
Amazing, amazing. So incidentally, of course, David speaks at Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro every year. Who will be the best person to teach you about drug conversations? I say that there is no sex conversation without drug conversation. So if your sex conversation is void of drug conversation, you're on your own. You are joking. And right now, if your sex conversation with your girls is void of being able to understand money, because right now we're not talking about girls selling their egg. Conversation for another day. All right. So we'll see that in Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro. So David speaks every year on Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro, educating on drug prevention. For me, I take Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro as I get ready because it's just before the TIP annual conference.
Yeah.
We get the way we prepare for it is another conference on its own. All right. Last year we had about 10,000 parents on board, and it was all shit. People finished. And of course, that's where you hear you're not a wow. All right. So every year in Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro would come out with something. So yes, Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro would also be that course is a course, right? That I connect with a lot. David also talked about emotional intelligence. I think for most people who work with people, emotional intelligence will be a call for them because you need a lot of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You need a lot of it to actually be able to connect. If you're not able to, it makes it really, really, really difficult, right? And of course, he also mentioned the conferences. The conferences are like out of the world. And I usually say humorously that, or seriously, really, inner circle parents understand TIP annual conference better. They attend with a better understanding.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
If you
I agree.
attend theater conference without being in the inner circle, there is a I don't know, you don't get, it's not everything you get, trust
Mm.
me. But when you attend with being in the inner circle, you find out that there's just something. There's just you go home with more. Just like when I talk about Tuesday Live. You can listen to Tuesday Live for 5 years.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Sorry about that. Siri is trying to harass me. All right. So if you get into the Tuesday Live, you listen to 5 years, it's a different thinking when you are in the academy. When you listen to
Mm.
Tuesday Live and you are an inner circle parent, you interpret it differently. This is the truth. You will interpret it differently. And that's the difference. That's the somebody said Siri came to class. And that's the whole conversation. So David has shared with us, and for every incoming year, I always say work on your emotions. That's the bedrock. That's the bedrock of parenting. If your emotions are not in check, you're going to continually struggle, right? So let us move to the books.
Mm.
David, what would be
Mm.
the top three books that you have read in this year?
Number one has to be connect to correct. Number one, it's bestseller. It has to be. It has to be everywhere. Everybody needs to read connect to correct, just like I've said. And then number two for me will be resolving sibling rivalry. That's number two. That's number two. I love resolving sibling rivalry. And number three will be the Sex Educate Like a Pro, which is always reviewed, I think, every year after the webinar. So Sex Educate, I have two of it. I don't know how, but I have two. I don't know how I have two, but I don't have two of the same one. So yes, I've read one. One is still in its nylon because it's the same thing. I don't know how I got to. So yes, so I think those are the three for me. Number one, connect to correct. Everybody should have that. Everybody should. I was on a different platform one day, platform for teenagers, and then there was an argument, and somebody actually snapped bits of the book, and pasted it in that WhatsApp group, and it just solved the argument. The
Hmm.
argument just died down, finished. There was no end of discussion. People just read what you wrote, and that was it. It just ended. So I think every single parent should read Connect Correct. And then I like sibling resolving and sibling rivalry.
Sibling
I love it.
rivalry.
I love it too because
Yeah.
I'm from my parents are from polygamous homes, both father and mother are both from polygamous homes. So I've seen what sibling rivalry has done. I've seen in Abuja sibling rivalry that led to death. A brother who
Mm,
killed his somebody killed his brother live and direct in Abuja. So I've seen it, and then I want to read this because I don't want these things to happen in my family. Like I said, it doesn't have to wait till when they are adults and you start doing fire brigade approach. No, want to lay a foundation to make sure that all of my children are closely knit and then there's no rivalry. So that's why I like it. I think I've read that twice, but I've read Connect Correct like 4 or 5 times. It's all marked. Even though it has markings in Connect to Correct, she too has used Byron and drawn some lines. And then of course, Sex Educate Your Child Like a Pro is something else I
mm.
like. I've read, sorry to add one more. I've read it,
Yes.
but I just read it to know. Walking your child through puberty. I read it
Mm.
to know about it. I've read it. So it's there in my head. And then I'm going to do a review on it and read it more, just to also. So I just wanted to add that for as well.
Amazing, amazing. If you're just coming live, you're listening to David Folaranmi. David Folaranmi. And of course, we can see Nena Folaranmi right on the screen. Nena Folaranmi went the way to the seashore with me. Our Igbo sister that liked the Yoruba voice. Yeah. So, yes. So, yes, Nena is married to David. Shout out to you, Nena. It is so good to have you right here. So Nena is going to be joining the popping wives of the inner circle. You know who the popping wives are? The wives who just follow. The husbands are not. They just follow, do nothing. You just tell them, just sit here, we sit. You tell them, just move like this, we move. We love to walk. Ask Dr. Happiness is working. She's our leader in that group. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, for being here. David shared his 3 top points: connect to correct, resolving sibling rivalry, and sex educate your child like a pro. I would have been shocked that he didn't choose sex educate your child like a pro. And so connect to correct will normally, if you're coming from where we are all coming from a lot. So of course, connect to correct is what we all connect to. And then of course, resolving sibling rivalry for me was like me solving a problem for me, because I was coming from a home where I saw my father and his siblings bicker
Mm,
for things that should have been sorted when they were children. Till now. And sometimes I look at them, I'm like, so this is a failure in parenting. This is a failure in the things that should have been done that was not done. Anything that breaks down is a failure of a system. It's
yeah.
not about the individual, it's the system. The family system broke down, and that was it. And many of us do not even recognize, right, that these things are there. So when the systems break down, then we begin to now blame the children. No, yeah, the one that, no, no, no. I saw my father and his siblings not having they didn't have the ability to actually resolve conflict. They don't know how to resolve conflict. I've listened to them as adults. My dad is in his 70s. He has a younger brother who is he's 11 years older than. And when I listen to them, I'm in awe. Like, are you guys joking? Like, you don't know how to resolve conflict. So these are the things that we don't intentionally teach. So I wrote resolving similarity because we assume, all of us assume that siblings are going to love themselves anyway, just because they are
Mm,
siblings.
yeah.
They lack
Yeah.
a bit of, and that's a distractor if you do not intentionally create a system where it happens. And that's why we came up with the sibling mentorship system that we teach in the academy. If you do not intentionally come up with that system, it fails you. And of course, sex education is also a thing where we started sex education like a pro on the premise that people were teaching sex education wrongly. I knew it. I attended some classes, and I was worried for the generation to come. People who were teaching sex education was teaching it on the premise of what it is that we heard. And I knew that knowledge was so fluid. It has changed. There was no talk of drug. There was no talk about sexuality. There was no talk about gender. And I said, these people are joking. And then I started to hear, oh, private part and public part. Don't allow people. I said, what is happening here? What's happening? What's popping? And of course, God help us. begin to, God help us to begin to program sex conversations differently. And today we teach sex conversation like nobody teaches it. Nobody. Name the place. When you have people like David, when you have people like Ebuka, I see you. When you have people like Ebuka, Coach D, and Tetima teaching sex conversation from different angles, you begin to see things differently and begin to program differently. You come out from, oh, don't allow anybody touch you. And don't allow, what's that? Is that sex conversation? What are we talking about? We have moved from there. You don't need to touch your children to abuse them anymore. So we have moved
Yeah.
from there, which is the sad thing. So abuse is no longer about touching. Let me not get into here. All right, get into the academy. So you have David share his journey today. It's been intense. If you've not been in this stream, right, and you've not been listening, you need to go back. David has shared some destructive truths. Can you see my t-shirt? Destructive truths. The truth that when you hear, you just sit up. The Bible says, buy the truth and sell it not. Wisdom is expensive. Trust me. You don't pick wisdom on the street. You pick wisdom. It's created and given to people. People are giving mantles. I'm sure that today David has delivered a piece of his clothes to us, and we have carried it and we're running with it. Thank you again for joining us. So, David,
Thank you,
in your
Koji. Thank you, Koji.
share with us, fathers who are listening to you, who are wondering, the inner circle, why must I be there? I'm too busy. For the record, I don't think I've seen, when people say I'm too busy, I think of the kind of work that we do, I laugh. As in, I literally laugh. Because if you're really busy, you will not have time to say that you're busy. You won't have time to be reiterating I'm busy. So others who say I'm too busy, this is not for me. You should be able to actually really cope. Now, that's one. And then speak to also people who also have younger children who are thinking, I will start when they are 10. So that at that time, we're going to just, keep trucking. Over to you, sir.
Okay. First of all, I want to greet my big brother, Coach Ebuka. I see you. Even though I reported you to Coach Wendy the last time I was in Abuja, but I'm sure that you are forgiven. So let's talk about fathers. Let's start with fathers. I say, yeah, 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 yeah. If you're not, if you look, I think the intentional parenting should actually be for men. If you The Father's Day conference is another thing that is very, very key in the intentional parents journey. Even though it's free, it's for everybody. Just like Coach said, if you're not in the inner circle, there are things that will be said that will just fly past your head and you won't understand it. As fathers, we should take the lead, right? We should take the lead by virtue of the position that God has given to us. We should take the lead. Our wives and children should follow us. I think every father should be invited to the inner circle. I think it will not take too much from you. I've seen, oh no, 2 days ago, sorry to bring this up again, 2 days ago, a brigadier general was in my office, just 2 days ago. He was in tears. He was in tears. He was in tears because of the problem or the challenges he's having with his children in drug use. And now, drug use will not just jump on you or jump on your child from the blues if you actually do the groundwork you're supposed to do as a father. The things that you will learn in the inner circle are things that will create a foundation that will cause your children to live lives free of social vices. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Sometimes I see on social media when a child has gone wayward and somebody will write, I dey fear to born girl. Oh." I say, what do you mean you dey fear to born girl? There's a way to raise those girls that they will turn out right. You only need to learn it. You only need to learn it and to execute it. And that's the mistake we're making. Some of us have even given up that the world is so corrupt that anything that wants to happen should happen. When that thing that wants to happen should happen, and you start crying, you're not going to get the help you need at that time. The best thing to do is to start now. Lay the foundation that you need that will give you peace and joy and rest in future. And this is where it starts at the inner circle. This is where it starts. The Father's Day conference is also so very rich. We have our mentors, Pastor Wisdom Osiri, who will be spitting fire at that conference. If you're not even in the inner circle, there are things that Coach will have laid as foundation that even when you join that Father's Day conference, you might not understand. So this is why it is important that fathers, you should be here. You are the priest of your home. You are the chief disciplinarian of your home. Now, if you don't know how to discipline, you discipline the wrong way. You discipline the way the world, the alternative way of discipline is, and you cause a counterproductive problem. How do you now solve the issue? And the problem, which is when a child is good, is the man. When the child spoil, is the woman. And that's the problem. So when the child has now gone bad, you now blame your wife when you did not do your own work. When you did not do your own work, you now blame the woman. It's your fault. No, it's your fault. I'm inviting every father. Some people are listening to this in their cars, listening to their office, listening to their homes. Every father, I invite you to join the next cohort of the inner circle. And I promise you, every minute you spend will be worth it. Every single minute you spend will be worth it. There are so many of them. Look at Coach Ebuka is there. Coach Ebuka is so busy. He's so busy. Sometimes you see him, his eyes is closing because of how busy it is. Yet he has time to be a part of the inner circle. I'm inviting every father to please be a part of the inner circle. It will do you a whole world of good. You should be the one to learn. Yes, Daddy, where are you? Thank you very much. You should be the one to learn and to teach your wife, who will pass it across to your children. And then parents who have young people who are waiting till they are 10, 11, 12, please, please, and please go and read Connect to Correct and learn that it starts from the first 3 years of a child's life, that they start forming their belief system, their values. They start understanding the things they can do and the things they cannot do. If you ignore those few years, those first formative years, it will take the grace of God for you to now solve the issues that might come up in future. You now start doing damage control. That's when you start calling Auntie Etima. That's when you start calling Coach Ebuka. That's when you start calling Coach Wendy. You can actually solve that challenge from now. I'm already putting into practice with my I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Yet I'm there. And I'm even telling you now that I'm going to repeat class 1 with my wife again, so that we can implement these things and see the practical examples in our children's lives as they are growing up. In fact, now is the time to join. Now is the time to join. In fact, people that are married and don't have children, join the inner circle. Join the inner circle. Join the inner circle. It will not just, let me tell you another thing. It just doesn't help your children. It helps you as a person. It changes your life. It changes the way you do things. It changes the way you think. It even impacts on your work. It's a holistic system. It's a holistic approach that Coach Wendy uses, and it just affects even your spiritual journey, your journey with God. It affects it. It makes it better. So why are you now waiting till you have children that are 15, 16, 17, 18 before you now decide to join? At that time, we'll have gone far. You now start going to the book review of 2019 or 20 to catch up. You now read 18 years old till you reach that time. No. Join now and be following us small. Not that you will reach that time, you'll not be asking me questions of something we learned 10 years ago. I'll not answer you. Maybe Coach will answer you, but I will answer you. So join now. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, David Folaranmi. If you are listening to me this morning, David, you had almost 200 people. Your celebrity is celebrating, man. We celebrate you, sir. And shout out to the governor. Every father must know that parenting starts from them. Thank you, sir, for joining you. All right, for joining us. I see Coach D of the Teen Success Academy. I can see all of the sons of the prophet. You know what I mean? Shout out to you guys. You guys are amazing. Epuka, I see you. Shout out to you, David. Thank you so much for joining. If you've been listening, you've not followed, go back to this session. You need to follow. All of us collected inside the session where we came to listen to testimony. We collected bullets. Every single one of us. We are going to go home and we are going to use a piece of that mantle to cover ourselves. All right. I can see Mr. Joseph. It is a call out to fathers. They ended this session with a call out to fathers. It is your job. All this my wife did not. My wife cannot. I am busy. I cannot. It is your job, sir. Sir, according to Atetima. It is your job. It is your job to be the parent. Of course, thank you this morning again, David.
Thank you, Coach.
you again and again for joining. Of course, you know that I love you. You know that
I
I
love
honor
you
you.
too,
Thank
please.
you
I
for
love you
being
too. I love
here.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. It's been an
Thank
amazing
you.
time out with you. And in all of the busy schedule, and you were able to come out and share this with us. I'm sure that a lot of people have been inspired by your journey, and we celebrate you. And again,
Thank
we
you.
want to say thank you to the work that you do in Nigeria.
Thank you.
For me, I have lost a cousin to drug overdose, and I know what it means for drug to actually ravage. I understand it. So when I look at the work that David does, and I'm like, somebody's doing this for me. It's like a heartbeat for me. So this is an opportunity to say that we see you, that we are praying for you, that we understand the amount of work you're doing in the nation, that you are one of the people that have been called a savior, a messiah in our time for the family system, and we do not take that for granted. Thank you so much for being a
Thank you.
blessing, TIP family. Thank you so
Thank you,
much
Kofi.
for being a blessing to me, of course.
Thank you, Kofi. Thank you.
Thank you, and
Thank you
God
very
bless.
much. Amen. Thank you.
Alrighty, so we're going to have David, and shout out to Nena Folaranmi. I see you, Nena. You come to the inner circle and collect your own basketballs. You'll be all right. Thank you so much. I'm going to let
Thank
David
you.
go now. Thank you, David.
Thank
All
you. Thank you.
righty. Everybody, we just listened to David Folaranmi. David Folaranmi is the founder of David Folaranmi Drug Prevention Academy. He talks about preventing drugs because he has walked the ropes. David did drugs for so many years and got delivered. And he's not just an expert, he's experienced in the process. So when he programs, he's not programming from head knowledge. He's programming from the heart. There are two different kind of things. He's programming from the heart. And when you program from the heart, it's a different kind of conversation, right? So you can find David Folaranmi. You can find him on social media and follow him, all right? I can see quite a number of people asking where they will get our books and all of that. Just send a chat to the number that is on the screen, and you will be able to get any of our books. But most importantly, is for you to join the academy. The academy is the place, all right? If you got something from this session from David, put the fire emojis in the comment section. So this is not just my intentional parenting journey. This was a masterclass in a masterclass. You know what I mean. All right. And of course, when you listen to David, even as a yada, your omo is always omo. Yadas know what I mean. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. Did you hear David say that? Yes, that's a yada language. Kabaya, like Mr. Dutch would say. It's been an amazing session this morning. All right. And it's been awesome. And shout out to you guys. Shout out to parents in the inner circle. Every single one person knows that parents in the inner circle are here in my heart. That no joke, no hype, nothing. It's all these no. We're not hyping. Inner circle no be hype. Okay, inner circle is an experience. It's the expectation. You are the one that you experience. You walk the journey. A lot of people have reached out to me in the past few days. Inner cycle starts in 3 days, yeah? We have only 72 hours. Ah, yeah, 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 yeah. 72 hours to the takeoff of the induction of inner circle. We're doing an induction on the 1st of December 2023. Is it that you're in or you're out? And if you're out, you're on your own. I've been privileged to sit with people like David, and I've seen parenting errors in glare terms, with some of his clients. And I know, like I know my name, that you see this, I am busy, I don't have time. There was something that he said. He said, if you're not intentional, you might pay the ultimate price. You might pay the ultimate price. So all these are busy, I don't have time. Don't pay the ultimate price with it, because there's always something to sacrifice. The question will be, what are you sacrificing? Your child? Your career? Who is on the altar? Who is the burnt offering? Very many of the times, our children are the burnt offering. And of course, when we start running kitty kitty, you pay this same 100,000. People are saying, you like pay 100,000. I've seen people sit in front of me, spend 2 million naira because they need different kind of coaches, and yet it's fire brigade approach. Sometimes it's an indelible mark that never goes away. Parenting scars. There are some of them that you experience that never leave somebody. There are some scars that never goes. Sometimes you actually think that it's just, is it not? We just wing it. There are some mistakes that are made that is irrecoverable. Please do not be in that space. Even when the child recovers, the scar will be there for life. And many of the times, those scars are not the scars that coaches can fix. They become scars that where you need to stand in the line of mercy. Why stand in the line of mercy when there is grace? God says, I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy. It is his prerogative. Yet, grace has been given to you to enter into. This is grace. And you say, I just prefer to just, go into mercy. When you go into mercy, you don't even know how it's going to end up. I'm currently working with a particular parent whose child today behaves like a child after spending 5 years in the US, do not know what he got into, came back home, and he can't, there's no left and right. Don't drugs, don't stuff, and all of that. Why? The parent was not there to instruct. The parent was not there to parent. Be there. So if you're challenged, I don't have time, I cannot. You're on your own. No. Because the language, you see, the language of I don't have time is for people who do not understand time management. It's not for people who are busy. So if you're truly busy, like I say, you will not be shouting I'm busy. Because busy people don't go around peddling that they are busy. People just see that you're busy. That's why I like the Bible verse that says, seeth a man diligent in his business. It did not say it did not say a man who says he's diligent. No. Diligence is sin. It is sin. It's about what is sin. So it is just there for you to be seen. Walk the path of grace. The inner circle have been availed for us under the mandate of grace. Trust me, the mandate of grace. Walk in it. Don't pray for grace. Walk in it. Because grace has been made available. Grace is available for you. When people say, I'm praying that God will give me grace. No, that I've never been able to understand that prayer. Grace is available. God has said, I have given you the grace. So it is for you to walk in it. But we're usually not walking in it. So a lot of us are saying, so help me, God. So no, help. God has helped you already. Grace is there. Help is there. Why are you asking for it? It's there. All you need to do is to walk in it. It's just like somebody comes to you and say that I bought you a 100-inch television. Take this receipt and go and collect it. And then you sit down in your house and you say, I am praying. I'm praying that this thing, I'm able to get it. The thief is there. All you need to do is to walk to the shop and pick it up. So grace is there. All you need to do is to walk it. You labor in grace. Thank you, Ayoye Mima. You labor in grace. That's what Apostle Paul says. So grace is not something that just falls on you. Grace is the work that you do. Grace is the work that you do. It's the systems that you create. It's the structures that you create. It's the diligence that you put together. And it is only when you are seen, your diligence is seen, that's when you can sit among kings. And when we talk about diligence being seen, we're not just talking about your work. We're talking about even your parenting. Because in the inner circle, our framework is raising kings. Those who make kings. And those who sit on the table with kings. That's the framework we're working with in the inner circle. And if you're going to be able to see the thing, then of course your diligence must be seen. It must be seen. It's only 72 hours and the inner circle door opens and shuts again for the next 365 days. Are you going to do another 365 day diddy-dally? Are you going to just be there, just, doing that day? You sow cassava, you will reap cassava. You are never going to sow cassava and reap rice. I was having a conversation with a family member yesterday, my youngest brother, and they were talking about a particular member, that family member that was, raised a certain way. And I said to him, these people are reaping the cassava they sowed. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? So it is in the grace. The grace is just there for you to walk into. I was reading, a story, recently, all right, of a thing that was Jonadab. And then the Bible said that all of the things that was said about him, that he was able to keep instructions even up until their forefathers. What instructions are you laying down for your children to be able to keep? So it is one thing to say, oh, I'm parenting, I know my children can your children really hear you? Can your children, I was sharing with the masterpiece women yesterday, and I said your instructions are legacies. Your instructions are legacies. And what legacy are you going to leave for your children? Are you just going to parent on the move? They said, it is what they are doing. That's not what we are doing anymore. Parenting has moved. The question will be, have you moved? That's the question. Have you moved? Are you journeying? Are you journeying? What instructions are you leaving? It's when you get instructions, superior instructions, that's when you give it. You don't give superior instructions when you don't have it. And there is a place for you to get superior instructions. And I'm going to leave you again with the parable of 10 virgins. And every time that I share that parable, people say to me, but they were the virgins, it means the other 5 foolish ones, they didn't prepare. That's not true. They prepared. The problem is that they didn't have an extra. The extra oil made the difference. So all of us are parenting, the same premise. But the extras that you will get, the foundations, that's what will make the difference. So the child who is wise, so parenting is not about righteousness and sin. That's not the conversation in parenting. The conversation in parenting is about wisdom and foolishness. So you are either going to raise wise people or you're going to raise foolish people. And I dare say that in these times, I see that we are raising people. Our template is a template of those who are serving kings, not those who will sit on the table to make kings or even to dine with kings. Because we're still programming, we're still creating parenting with the brain of, oh, my child is going to be here, and then my child is going to come out of school 20 years, and then that's why we're buying results. That's why we're pushing our children to only think academics. We're programming wrong. And that's the ordinary. Nobody becomes extraordinary without anything extra. What will be your extra? What will be that extra thing that you're going to be doing to be able to offer to your generation? The Bible said that they were instructed. It was Jonadab. He said they were instructed not to drink wine, and they lived it to the generations and generations to come. He said we have lived it, and because of that, the presence of God is with us. What will be that thing that you're going to actually believe in? Parenting, intentional parenting is legacy. Because I say, that parenting is war. How you fight is how you finish. Where you stop is where the next generation starts to win from. Anytime that I say this, I remember the story of Moses, a man who was said to be the meekest on earth, yet a man who struggled with anger. Yeah, why? Just because he was a Levite. Just because he was a Levite. What it is that you do will have impact in generations and generations to come. Moses struggled in all his humility with anger issues. Why? Because an ancestor did not pay the price that they needed to pay. What price are you willing to pay? What price are you willing to actually give up? What are you willing to sacrifice? The question will be yours. Are you willing to sacrifice your child or whatever else that you need to sacrifice? Are you willing to sacrifice generations to the third, to the fifth? The Bible says, I will visit the sins of the fathers to the fifth generation. It is the same thing with every other thing. The legacy, the pride of parenting to the fifth generation. Everything you do is to the fifth generation. Are you going to destroy the life of generations unborn just because you're claiming that you know it all? To the fifth generation, your legacy is you. Like I say in the inner circle, the legacy is you. It's not your child. Your child is not your legacy. You are the legacy. Every single one of us today, we're praying with the name of Abraham, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac. What's stopping your children from praying with the name of your God in years to come? Abraham was a child of God, just like every one of us are. What is that thing that's going to make generations to come call your name and pray with your name? That question is for you. And I'm going to end by saying that there will always be kings and there will always be slaves. Kings are raised with templates. Slaves are raised with nothing. And in every community, there will be kings and there will be slaves. So kings are fewer, slaves are everywhere. So you are either building a mansion or you're building a shanty. For you to build a mansion, you need all of the qualifications of people. You need all of the structures. Because a mansion stands the test of time. A mansion needs a lot to build it up. So the question would be, your parenting, is it a mansion or is it a shanty? So must you be in the inner circle? No, you mustn't. You will make a choice whether you want to build a mansion or you want to build a shanty. That's the differentiating factor. And when you are building a shanty, you do not need us. You don't need any of these things that we're saying. Because you can just stay on the ground, draw something, and a shanty comes up. And boom, you are building a shanty, and it's fine. Like I often say, if there are no slaves to serve the kings, there will be a disruption. So we need an equilibrium. So it's fine if you also decide that I don't need this template. It's okay. It is all about the prices that we're willing to pay. What will be that differentiating factor for your children? Your children are going to throttle from the level of competence you leave them. What level of competence are you willing to leave for the next generation? What will be the parenting advantage that your child will have just because you raised them? Every human being is a function of who raised them, where they were raised, how they were raised, and what the person who raised them know. What will you know? How will you be a differentiating factor to a child that you were given? Will you be raising a Messiah, or you will be raising just an ordinary person? The choice is yours. I invite you today to come into the inner circle, because we have been given a mandate for such a time like this. We have been called to actually turn away a system and restructure it, because we're going to be the light, the shining light, the guiding light in these generations to come. Things that are happening are never going to change. No, things are not going to change. All the things that you see in the internet and panic and all of that, it's not going to change. The only thing that will give you stability will be wisdom and knowledge. The Bible says that wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of our times. How stable you will be in this time will be a product of the wisdom that you get. And wisdom is not cheap. The Bible says, buy the truth and sell it not. The truth is expensive. Buy it and sell it not. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. And thank you for all of the things that David shared today. Shout out to you again, David. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to all the parents in the inner circle who've been here for years. Thank you for trusting that we can do this. I look forward to being your coach in the next 72 hours. I look forward for you to actually being able to tap into what God has called me for in this generation. I do not need an affirmation from you. I know with a certitude that what we will share will transform your life. That's what wisdom is. Wisdom knows that when you get it, it's a whole different conversation. We have been called for a generation such as this. Join me as we change the generation and the future of Africa. And that's the only way that we're going to change anything in times to come. My name is Wendy Oluki, and I'm the founder of the Intentional Parent Academy, and I love to serve Intentional Parent Academy So you can call me the chief servant, a name that I appreciate all the time. Thank you again for joining me this morning. See you at 2 p.m. at the Tuesday Live. It's been an intense session. You have a lot to think about. But most importantly, you have to jump into the act today so that you don't get shut out and then not be in there. Have an amazing day. Yadas and yadas to come. And if you're just joining in the yard, you can put a comment in the comment section and say, I am a yada in 72 hours. I am a yada in 72 hours. Thank you so much for joining me this morning and see you at 2 p.m.